Hello. I wanted to share with you an experience that I had. um, I've been, as you might know from my previous videos, I've been delving into my spirituality with God. I am newly Christian. I never grew up like going to church or anything like that. I think I'd been to church maybe a couple of times when I was really, really little, when my dad, lived in Colorado, and he took me a couple of times, but I lived with my mom, and she was never like one of those people. So I never knew anything about God or Christianity or anything, minus what I learned in my world religions class in high school. But aside from that, like, I never followed Christ or anything like that. I always have been like a spiritual person. I've always believed that there was more than just what we have here in this 3D world. I've always believed in those energies. I just never labeled myself a specific religion, I guess. And so anyway, I was recently baptized in my local church here, and my friend Susan, she gave me this, let me show you. She gave me this little Bible study for women, the Bible in 52 weeks. I just started it on the 1st of December, and she gave me this little journal to write down, my thoughts and stuff. So, it's been perfect timing because I feel like towards the end of the year towards the end of the year, I feel like, for me personally, I don't know, I feel like a lot of the emotions of the year that I had kind of settling down, and it can become really a lot, and can be really overwhelming, and I do a lot of like purging of emotions at this time of the year and reflecting on the past year and even years prior. So honestly, it's been like the perfect time to start getting into this, but I wanted to share with you guys a specific experience that I had, that I wrote about here. I'm in an age gap relationship. My partner and I have been together since 2011, though we have been apart before. We have 2 kids together, and I have a 3rd kid that is not of his blood, but is of his soul. And we are all a family together. And I wanted to kind of share one of the entries that I wrote about in here, because I felt like maybe it could help someone else. So anyway, they have you read a certain, passage in the Bible. Obviously it's having, me start at the beginning, but there's this question here. Actually, let me see where I should start. Okay, hold on. Okay, so I think I'm just gonna quickly read this little intro page right here, just to give you a better idea of like what it's talking about, what it's asking. So it says here, my purpose is to encourage the encourager today. While you focus on the needs of those around you, remember that God has not forgotten about you. He hears your prayers and remembers your heart's desires and struggles. He posed a question to Abraham in Genesis 18:14. Is anything too hard for the Lord? And the answer is that there is absolutely nothing too hard for God. Ephesians 3:20 says that God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think, according to the power that works in us. There is nothing you could think of or ask that God cannot do. In the story of Sarah and Abraham, God told Abraham that he would make him a great nation, and from him, all the families of the earth would be blessed. This promise probably didn't make sense to Abraham at the time because he and Sarah had no children, and well into their senior years, they thought they were too old. In chapter 16, Sarah still hadn't had a child yet, so she took matters into her own hands and decided that Abraham should sleep with her maid, Hagar. Abraham and Hagar had a son named Ishmael. God allowed it, but he did not ordain it. You must be mindful that when it comes to the promises of God, you shouldn't take matters into your own hands. In chapter 18, God made Abraham and Sarah a specific promise, one that didn't make sense. The odds were against them because of their age. Abraham was 100 and Sarah was 90 years old. By this time, it had been 13 years since God made his original promise in chapter 12, and they had seen no signs of their earlier promise. What do you do when you've waited so long and somebody is telling you that the impossible is still possible? What do you do when the promise just doesn't make sense? You've got to decide in your heart not to give in to the doubt. I know that's easier said than done. I've had to learn the hard way that doubting hinders the progress to your promise, paralyzes you, and keeps you stagnant. It makes you want to take control rather than trust God with your life. However, when you replace doubt with faith, you give God something to work with. It's easy to be skeptical when the odds are against you, but I encourage you to trust God to keep his word. When you replace doubt with faith, trust that God will do his part and release the blessing. You have to believe that there is absolutely nothing too hard for God to do. So, then there was a question for me to answer. The question was, when you were faced with an impossibility, how did you handle it? After this lesson, how will you handle those impossibilities going forward? So, I wanted to speak about this specific impossibility that I found myself in back in 2022 when I had just moved back to Colorado with the kids, just started to try to get my life reestablished and things going over there, and I ended up pregnant. I had gotten myself involved with someone I probably shouldn't have at the time, and I ended up pregnant. And there was a moment at the very beginning of the pregnancy where I wasn't sure what I was going to do. And one morning I got ready, I took the kids to school, and then I was going to go to work. And I got in my car and I turned it on, and then I just completely broke down. So I wanted to share with you my journal entry. I said, it was the day I sat in my car, grieving over the learned pregnancy of my son. What was the right thing to do? What was my heart screaming? What was logic telling me? It was a battle between logic and something in my soul telling me this baby needed to be born into this world. I broke open that day, but I also received a message reminding me that the sun is up, the sky is blue, it's beautiful, and so are you. And it was confirmation I was on the right path. I told myself that we would be okay no matter what, and I felt and believed that to my core. So that day, I'm going to be very honest with you. On the day that I found out that I was pregnant, and I sat next to the person to tell them, that I was pregnant, we had decided to make an appointment to have an abortion. I knew logically it was the right thing to do because, how in the world was I supposed to bring another child into this world that I wasn't even prepared for, that I barely knew the person that I was with. I didn't have like, I had a job, but I wasn't like getting paid like a lot of money. I had just started the job, literally just started that job. I was living with a roommate at the time. It was just not the right time to have a baby. And anyway, so fast forward, a couple weeks, I'm sitting in my car and I'm about to go to work, but I can't get myself to stop crying. I just can't stop crying, because I didn't want to not have this baby. I didn't. There was something inside of myself that was telling me, you need to have this baby. No logic to it whatsoever. It didn't make any sense at all. But there was just something in me that said, this baby needs to be born into the world. And I called and I canceled the abortion appointment. I would call back. I called back like 4 times, remaking the appointment, like canceling it again, and remaking the appointment. It was such an emotional roller coaster. I just didn't know what to do. And so it got to a point where I was just profusely apologizing. I was in my car, like snot crying, apologizing, and I couldn't feel anything other than that apology. I felt so much sorrow and so much, I felt so horrible. And then on the radio came Dear Prudence by the Beatles, which was insane because the first day that I got back to Colorado, the first day that I moved back there, we were walking into the apartment, and at the entrance I found this little business card. I still have it around here somewhere. I'll find it. It wasn't even a business card. It was like a business card, but it had no business information. It just had the words, the sun is up, the sky is blue, it's beautiful, and so are you. And it's all colorful, rainbowy, and I picked it up and I saved it. I was like, this is a good sign, I'm on the right path, kind of thing, and I trusted that. And so when I was sitting in the car and I was so sorry, I was just begging for forgiveness, and then that song comes on, and I knew right then and there, I knew that if I had this baby, I was gonna be okay. We were gonna be okay, no matter what, and I didn't make it to work that day, but I did finalize the cancellation of the abortion appointment, and I knew in my heart, I knew with every cell of my being that I made the right decision. And though the journey was not easy, it was not easy at all. I spent the pregnancy alone with my kids. The biological father wasn't really involved. That's a story for another time. Things are better now, but obviously during that time, it was the hardest time of my entire life. I feel like I did write more in here. What did I say? I said, I suppose I've been feeling a bit stuck lately, exhausted, drained, weak. I'm supposed to be the glue of this family, and I feel like a used sticker. The future does seem like an impossibility as of late, like there are no answers. I think listening deeper is required, and deepening of my faith in God, and knowing He has our future in His hands, we will be okay. It's so emotional for me. I just feel like sorry, hold on. I'm gonna skip past a little bit because there is a part 2 to the question, and it's asking what the lesson taught me about my faith, or what can that lesson teach me about my faith. And I wrote, well, it reminds me that I'm never truly alone. It also reminds me that all I have to do is let go and surrender to the truth, God's truth. And that's gotta be like my greatest reminder, is that even when I'm feeling the most alone, like when I was in that car that day, when I was feeling just so devastated and so sad and so alone, it's like those moments are when you're closest to God. I feel like those are the moments when you can reach out and grab a hand, basically, you know? I had another moment like that down the line, but I think it's just a reminder to believe with your whole heart that no matter what, you're never alone, and all you gotta do is ask, you know? The truth is always there for you. You just have to ask, you know? And now I have a 20-month-old son, and he's got an amazing family that loves him and cares for him, and where we are today versus where we were in that moment is like, oh my God, I'm so grateful and I'm so blessed. I couldn't be more grateful. But yeah, I don't know what the point of this video was. I just really wanted to share that with you, and it also brings up another point, like from the other video that I posted, not last video but the video before that, where you, in the moment, you never see where you're gonna be. You never know where you're going to end up. But your brain doesn't automatically have to jump on the negative bandwagon and automatically assume that where you're gonna end up is somewhere horrible, and lonely and dark, you know? Because that's like, it's so easy to jump to that. Like, it's weird and crazy to imagine the life that could have transpired if I had followed through with terminating the pregnancy. But I'm so glad that I made the decision to follow through, even if logic didn't agree. There was no sense in it. It was just pure, I don't know, knowing. Like, I just knew. I don't know how else to explain it. It's like when you meet the love of your life, you know? You don't understand it. You just know. That's the best I can explain it. And so, yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to share that with you. I wrote, I have full faith that everything in my life has happened by God's plan, but sometimes I feel so alone on the journey, and I forget that those are the moments I should pray the most and share my gratitude with the Lord that He is always at my side. And it's so funny at the bottom. I just realized this at the bottom of the journal. It says, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be terrified, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." Joshua 1:9. Like, what? That's crazy. Oh, and by the way, like that, what do you call it? Thumbnail of the car with the license plate thing, the license plate frame that says like "Smile, God loves you" or whatever. I literally, as I was driving home after I recorded that video, saying how like I've been getting messages, from God or whatever, I literally saw that was the car that was driving in front of me, and I was laughing so hard I had to take a photo. And anyway, yeah, that's what I wanted to share with you. Maybe I'll keep I don't know, sharing this stuff with you as I go through it. I don't know if you guys are interested in that. And I'm telling you, this is so weird and new for me, talking about God and all of that, like on a platform. Like, I never would have imagined me being in the position that I am today with my spirituality. But I'm so grateful. I love you all. I hope you're all well. Stay hydrated, stay happy and healthy. And I'll be praying for you and for the rest of the world. I hope you do the same. Have a good night or day wherever you are. And